Tonight, just like every other night, you are going to close your eyes and allow your world to disappear. Your work, your problems, your identity, your story. And you won't be terrified. You'll call it sleep. The whole day you are trying to remain somebody. You maintain your relationships, you solve problems, you worry about tomorrow, you defend your opinions, you build your identity. Then night comes, and without much resistance, you disappear. The whole day is spent in becoming an effort to maintain continuity, to remain somebody. Then slowly evening arrives. The world that felt so solid starts dissolving. Your room disappears. Your social status disappears. Your ambitions disappear. Your possessions disappear. Even the person who spent all day saying me begins fading. And yet you welcome this. You call this comfort. You call this rest. You call this peace. But give the same disappearance another name, death, and suddenly fear appears. Why? There is something here we have not investigated properly. Not through beliefs, not through second-hand philosophy, through direct experience. First, let us be precise. Sleep and death appear different. Nobody is saying they are identical, but both raise the same question. What exactly disappears? Sleep is a clue, a pointer. And if we observe carefully, it points towards something uncomfortable. When deep sleep happens, where exactly does your world go? Where's your career? Where's your anxiety? Where's your social identity? Where's your spirituality? Where are your political opinions? Where's the version of you constantly narrating life? Gone. For hours. Not destroyed. Unavailable. And strangely, this absence is not usually experienced as suffering. People do not wake saying, I lost my personality for 6 hours. It was terrible. No. They say, I finally got rest. This is strange, because during the day we assume maintaining identity creates safety. But every night peace only arrives when identity is given up. Maybe suffering and identity are more connected than we realize. Now let us examine fear carefully. People often say, I fear death. Look closer. Do you fear death itself, or do you fear losing things? Your family, your memories, your plans, your unfinished goals, your achievements, your body, your experiences, your sense of control, your future. Fear of death is usually many fears wearing one mask. Imagine someone threatens to destroy your phone. You panic. Not because of the phone itself. You panic because of what lives inside it. Your photos, your messages, your memories, your conversations, your history. The object is not the problem. Your attachment to what it represents is. Similarly, death threatens everything you have psychologically invested yourself in. So naturally fear appears. Now look at the deeper assumption. Why do these losses feel personal? Because you have mixed yourself with temporary things. Body becomes me. Thought becomes me. Emotion becomes me. Success becomes me. Memory becomes me. And once this mixing happens, change becomes frightening. Suppose someone wears a costume for decades and forgets it is a costume. One day the costume tears. They panic. This is identification, not stupidity, just habit. You have repeated, I am this body so many times that it feels obvious. You have repeated, I am this personality so many times that questioning it feels absurd. Today I'm going to ask you to question it anyway. This is not about sounding spiritual. It is about understanding where suffering comes from. What you identify with becomes something you must constantly protect. And whatever must constantly be protected eventually becomes a source of fear. Try something. Imagine your own absence. Really try. Close your eyes. Imagine complete non-existence. What appears? Darkness? Blackness? Empty space? Look carefully. Who sees the darkness? Who knows the emptiness? Who observes blackness? Notice something strange. Even while imagining your own absence, you are still there imagining it. You never quite disappear from your own picture. Maybe this is why imagining death feels so strange. The mind tries to imagine nothing, but instead it creates darkness, or emptiness, or endless space. Then it reacts to those images as if they are death itself. And the more it tries to solve it, the more trapped it becomes. Because every attempt to imagine your absence quietly puts you back into the scene. In this video, let us look carefully at something all of us avoid thinking about for too long: death. To understand it, I want you to look at 3 ordinary experiences, not theories. Experiences: waking, dreaming, deep sleep. It sounds simple, but almost your entire life happens within these 3 states. In waking state, a world appears, a body appears, relationships appear, problems appear. You call this reality. Then dream comes. Another world appears. Different people appear. Different fears appear. While dreaming, that world also feels real. You rarely realize. This is a dream. Then deep sleep comes. Now both worlds disappear. The waking world disappears. The dream world disappears. Thought disappears. Memory disappears. Identity disappears. Yet continuity remains. Otherwise, how do you say, I was awake, I dreamed, I slept? Who reports this if there was absolute absence? The waking personality cannot. It disappears during dreams. Dream identity cannot. It disappears too. Thought cannot. Thought is absent in deep sleep. Still, something remains continuous enough for experience to feel connected. Have you ever tried to investigate this? Not believe. Investigate. Look at your own life. At age 5, you had another body, different desires, different fears, different friends. At 15, another identity. At 25, another one. Even your values changed. Your cells changed. Your worldview changed. Yet you still say, that was me. What exactly remained unchanged enough to create continuity? Observe. Everything observable changes. Body changes. Thought changes. Emotion changes. Relationships change. Beliefs change. States change. That which notices change cannot itself be changing in exactly the same way. Otherwise, no continuity would be possible. Now return to sleep. Deep sleep temporarily removes almost everything you defend during the day. No status, no comparison, no insecurity, no ambition, no regret, no psychological burden. And what remains? Rest. Why? Because the constant effort required to maintain an identity temporarily stops. Think about some of your happiest moments. Deep love, being absorbed in music, watching mountains, playing as a child, creating something. For brief moments, the constant sense of me becomes quieter. And those moments often feel peaceful. Why? Maybe because, for some time, there is less self-concern, less comparison, less maintaining an image, less protecting a story. Deep sleep shows something unusual. For some time, your normal identity is absent from experience. No role to play, no image to maintain, no personal story to defend. Yet this absence is usually not described as suffering. More often, it is described as rest. Stay with that observation carefully. Now another mistake appears. People hear this and conclude, so nothing matters. Wrong. Life matters. Compassion matters. Love matters. Work matters. Pain matters. Spirituality is not indifference. It is clarity. You still care for the body. You still love people. You still participate in life. You simply stop making temporary things carry the burden of ultimate identity. This changes fear, because fear depends on what you think you are. If you are only the body, death becomes total catastrophe. If you are only memory, catastrophe. If you are only personality, catastrophe. But if body, memory, and personality are appearances within awareness rather than the entirety of what you are, the structure of fear changes. Not overnight, gradually, through observation. Notice something else. Every night, control fails. You cannot command sleep. You cannot decide, I will sleep exactly now. At some point, control collapses, and sleep arrives. Every night, existence trains you. Let go, let go, let go. Morning comes. Identity rebuilds. My plans, my worries, my importance, my image. and fear returns. Tonight, do something simple. Do not believe me. Do not reject me. Observe. Watch the moment before sleep. Watch identity becoming softer. Watch the world disappearing. Watch how willingly surrender happens. Because maybe death frightens us, not because disappearance is unfamiliar. Disappearance is constant. Childhood disappeared. Versions of you disappeared. Thoughts disappear. Moods disappear. Relationships disappear. Entire identities disappear. Life is continuous disappearance. Perhaps death frightens us because we think we are what disappears. Temporary things disappear. This is unavoidable. But look carefully at that by which all disappearance is known. Has it ever announced its arrival? Has it ever announced its departure? When waking became dream, did it vanish? When dream became sleep, did it vanish? When childhood became adulthood, did it vanish? Look carefully. Not for comfort. Comfort fades. Not for beliefs. Beliefs change. Perhaps the deepest fear is not death. Perhaps the deepest fear is losing everything you have mixed into your sense of self, your body, your memories, your relationships, your story. And now return to the question. You disappear every night. So why are you scared of death? Maybe because you believe you are what disappears. I'm pointing somewhere else. What changes cannot be what you fundamentally are. And what you fundamentally are was never born and therefore cannot die.